until such time as the real agreement reached is fully complied with. Now, the current ceasefire does remain fragile, as you said. Iran claims that it has already been breached by Israeli strikes on Lebanon targeting Hezbollah. The Iranian-backed militant group vowed to continue attacks on Israel. In response to that, the U.S. and Israel both say Lebanon was not included in the ceasefire, a misunderstanding, according to the vice president.
What we said is, and we'll get into J.D. Vance's remarks on what he's in Pakistan right now, negotiating with Iran. Man, this is all over the place, and I've been saying it. The messaging is all over the place. Do we truly have a ceasefire? It doesn't seem like it. And the Strait of Hormuz was open for a couple hours, and there's a lot of different reporting coming out that they're charging $2 million a ship that's going through the strait. This is a complete mess and debacle. And as this keeps going on, this is going to be Trump's biggest failure. And I don't know if they can recover from this. I don't know what the off-ramp is here. In Israel, why would Israel, after reaching a deal, supposed deal with Iran, go ahead and bomb Lebanon right after? I at least give it a day to see how Iran's going to respond to the ceasefire. But you go ahead and you bomb the shit out of Lebanon. I don't get that. Give it a day. Give it 2 days. Why continue to set flames to the fire? I don't understand it. Obviously, I'm not in the room with the information. Just from the outside looking in, this doesn't make any sense at all. Israel saying that Lebanon's not part of the deal. Hezbollah's not part of the deal. But man, if we're truly trying to get to peace and a resolution to this situation, at least give it 24 hours and see how Iran responds to the ceasefire. But you go ahead and just bomb the shit out of Lebanon. It's just, I don't understand it for the life of me. It just, none of this stuff makes any sense to me. And I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions. But Israel, and Israel's getting a lot of blame. A lot of the same people that supported Trump in his 2024 run, all these podcasters are flipping on Trump, and we're going to get into some of the remarks, and I'm going to put a clip up of Megyn Kelly and her remarks. She's completely flipped the script on Trump, but here's J.D. Vance with his remarks.
The ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states. If Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
Iran's foreign minister, he objects to that, writing this: the Iran-U.S. ceasefire terms are clear and explicit. The U.S. must choose ceasefire or continued war via Israel. It cannot have both. The world sees the massacres in Lebanon. The ball is in the U.S. court, and the world is watching whether it will act on its commitments. Iranian state media also reporting that Tehran has closed the Strait of Hormuz. This is a major point of contention and of disagreement right now. The U.S. and allies demand it remains open. Guys.
You can cut the clip.
All right,
so there you have it. You have Iran's response. If we truly want a ceasefire, then we got to stop, and Israel has to stop. And who can disagree with that? Honestly, who can disagree with that? I've been a big proponent of Israel, and in certain aspects of this. Have they gone too far in Palestine? Some would argue yes, and they may have. October 7, you can't erase that. You can't erase those images. But at what point do we need to stop? And if they truly want peace, then why are they acting like they don't want peace? Why bomb Lebanon right after this deal, supposed deal, got struck? And then the messaging in all this. Trump got a 10-point plan on Monday. Tuesday, he comes out and says that, okay, we can work with this plan. Just the messaging is an absolute mess. And for any of you that had hope about the midterms, it's over. I'm telling you right now today, this is over. This is a complete disaster. Agree or not agree. And listen, I have said, what is the alternative if Iran truly gets nuclear weapons? They would use it. That is the alternative. So something had to get done, but this has been sloppy how this has been done. And I just don't know what the off-ramp is here now. Trump came out with some crazy tweets. You know, he came out with one on Sunday. I didn't have the problem with the one on Sunday. Listen, if you voted for Trump, you know what you signed up for. Like, there's no secret that he goes off the rails. And sometimes this is negotiating tactics that he uses to get you to come to the middle. And I understand all that. And then the tweet he sends out Monday, talking about that he's going to wipe a civilization out. Man, very, very strong words by a president, right? Is it to get them to the table? And it seemed like he got Iran to the table. And Israel's been in conjunction with the Trump administration in this conflict. They're the ones that went to President Trump and basically convinced him, while people on Trump's administration, because the reports have come out that they didn't want him doing this, and he still got convinced to do it. So if Trump is saying one thing, why is Israel doing the other? They should be working in conjunction. Is Israel the bad actor in all of this? Every day that passes, it seems that way. I would hate to think that they would want this war to continue and innocent lives to continue to die. We've had 13 U.S. members of our armed services die. You've had about 1,500 people from Lebanon that have died, close to 1,600. And then thousands of Iranians have died. Right? And how do you justify all this if you don't accomplish your goal, you don't get regime change, and you don't stop their nuclear power or nuclear development, and you don't get the Strait of Hormuz opened up? You're about to go into economic collapse worldwide if this doesn't get figured out and this gets dragged out. This is a complete and utter mess. So where does Trump go from here? Where does the administration go from here? And J.D. Vance is one of the front runners for the Republican Party in 2028, and he's trying to kind of almost distance himself from all this because he gave the president advice not to do this. And through back channels, you're hearing that Vance wants nothing to do with this war. And now he's seeming like he's the one that's, you know, in the front of the negotiations in Pakistan to, you know, negotiate a peace deal. And I just don't know how this administration covers, and I don't know how the Republican Party is going to be able to flip this now in the midterms, and then when you go into a presidential election. Where, you know, like, I was just thinking, and one of the reasons I voted for Trump this go around, because again, this is the first time I ever voted for Trump was in 2024. In 2016, I voted for Hillary Clinton. In 2020, I voted for Biden. And I've been a Democrat my whole life, but I got pushed away from the Democrat Party because they've gone way too left. Okay. And them trying to throw, Trump in jail over nonsense pushed me away because I knew we were going to get into a tick for tat when it came to our politics. But it's just, where do we go? Like, these are our two options. Like, we go into 2028. Our two options are Gavin Newsom and Donald and JD Vance. Where do you go from here? And I've been a Marco Rubio supporter and fan of Marco Rubio. Would this look a lot different under a JD Vance administration? Could be. This could look a lot different because sometimes Trump is a little unhinged and off the rails. And I kind of like that about Trump because he has you on your toes. But there's a very fine line that you have to navigate with Trump, because if he goes too far, you end up possibly in a catastrophic situation, and where we're heading with all this. So I hope that I'm wrong. Really, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that there's an off-ramp here, that we get peace, and that they can figure something out here. And we can move forward from this, and the economy doesn't get truly impacted. The economy is already impacted. Gas prices are going up and down. Oil this morning was $98. It shot down below, I think, 90 or close to 90 yesterday. It's been up as high as close to 120, 112, 120, somewhere in between there. And when does that start impacting our cost of living? Our cost of goods, People are living paycheck to paycheck. And I don't even know what the number is. I think it's probably close to $3 trillion worth of credit card debt in this country. How do we fix the issues here versus trying to fix all the issues in the world? And a lot of podcasters have jumped off, they've jumped off the Trump train. Megyn Kelly, which, she's had her share of run-ins with Trump. And, when Trump was running in 2016, he says some comments about her, and they've been at odds sometimes with their relationship, but she always votes Republican, and she's been behind Trump. She's flipped the script on Trump. And here's a clip on Megyn Kelly speaking about Trump.
Part sounding thrilled and ready to do business with Iran. Here he is shortly after midnight on Truth Social. Quote, a big day for world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Likewise, so is everyone else. The United States of America will be helping with the traffic buildup in the Strait of Hormuz. There will be lots of positive action. Big money will be made. Iran can start the reconstruction process. We'll be loading up with supplies of all kinds and just hanging around in order to make sure that everything goes well. I feel confident that it will. Just like we are experiencing in the U.S., this could be the golden age of the Middle East, unquote. Okay, I'm sorry, but I know that this is what President Trump does. He tries to put the most positive spin on very unfortunate situations, and that is what he's clearly doing here. It's as if we didn't bomb them to smithereens. It's as if we didn't start a war and bomb Iran for the past 38 days. That cannot be undone with a sunny tweet or Truth Social, because already things are going south on this ceasefire. All right, I'll get to that in 1 second. By the way, it's still totally unclear what exactly has been agreed to, and even what exactly we're willing to negotiate, and how open is the Strait of Hormuz? Because Fox News' Jennifer Griffin, citing Iranian state media, is reporting that Iran allowed 2 tankers through, but, quote, they will block the strait as long as Israel attacks Lebanon. And this just breaking from Fox News' Trey Yingst. Iranian state media reporting the passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz has been stopped after Israeli strikes in Lebanon. Now, the issue of Lebanon is very sticky because at first it appeared, we thought, that part of the ceasefire was Israel would stop bombing them, would stop bombing Lebanon. But then Israel continued bombing Lebanon and came out and said, we're not part of this. We didn't agree to that. It's not part of it. We can bomb Lebanon all we want. And then Iran said, what? We thought Lebanon was part of it. And now here we are at 12:04 on Wednesday with the strait closed again because our good friend and special ally Israel is fucking up the ceasefire within 12 hours of it being struck. They're bombing Lebanon, so the strait is closed again. Our special good friend that got us into this war and really doesn't want us getting out. President Trump.
The clip. Can you disagree with her? Israel's not fucking this up? Seems that way. Seems that way. It just seems that way. And if 1 + 1 is 1, or 1 + 1 is 2, it's usually 2. Where do we go from here? You have people jumping off the train, off the Trump train. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's jumped off. She's wanting to invoke the 25th Amendment. Is that even a possibility? Is that even a reality in all this? Stephen A. had some remarks on this, and I kind of agree with him. Roll the clip.
Bunch of people on the right, bloviating, talking out of both sides of their mouth, knowing that they're pushing for something that'll never happen, meaning invoking the 25th Amendment, led by the vice president, cabinet members, and 2/3 of the House of Congress coming together to unseat a sitting president due to him being unfit. I'm not saying it to you because I think it's going to happen. I'm not going to engage in futility. That ain't going to happen. As long as he's alive and breathing, Donald Trump's going to be the president until the end of the year 2028. It's just a fact. And unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene or a bunch of people on the right, bloviating, talking out of both sides of their mouth, knowing that they're pushing for something that'll never happen, meaning invoking the 25th Amendment, led by the vice president, cabinet members, and 2/3 of the House of Congress coming together to unseat a sitting president due to him being unfit. I'm not saying it to you because I think it's going to happen. I'm not going to engage in futility. That ain't going to happen. As long as he's alive and breathing, Donald Trump's going to be the president until the end of the year 2028. It's just a fact. And unlike Marjorie Taylor...
He's right. It ain't going to happen. You can talk about it. It's never going to get invoked. It's never going to pass the Senate. What we need is Donald Trump just to listen to his advisors around them and find an off-ramp to this situation. Stop with the bombastic words and the tough guy talk. Just get us out of this. Concede, we got tricked. Just concede it and get us out of this. But we're not heading. I was telling a friend yesterday. This is heading towards some difficult times for our country and for the world, because I just don't see an end to this. And does Trump take the L, right? And can messaging save him and say he won? Won what? What did he win? And people have asked me, if you had the opportunity to vote for Trump again, would you? If I had the same information, I would. I cannot see a country being ran by Kamala Harris right now. Can't see it. So give me the best of both evils. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. Some are backtracking. Right? But at the moment, what were we going to do? The economy was on the floor at that moment. Joe Biden was basically dead. You insert Kamala Harris and try to shove her down everybody's throat. You try to imprison a former president. And by the way, if you want to really take some accountability for what's going on today and why Trump's in power, blame the Democrats. They were trying to throw him in jail. They revived him. They tried to kill him. That's why we're here. I hope he comes to his senses. And I think I think what he did the other day, I was worried, and I did a whole, show on this. I was worried about if the deadline came and they didn't have a deal, what would happen? And the deadline came, and about an hour before, or an hour and a half before, they had this ceasefire, 2-week ceasefire. And nothing happened. And I said, wow, typical Trump. Outrageous tweet, but gets everybody to the table and figure out a solution. But do we truly get a solution? That's the question to all this. This is all messy. Do we truly have a ceasefire in place? Or is this something that the Trump administration and Trump came out with to kind of backtrack on those tweets? There's a lot of moving parts to all this. A lot of moving parts to all of this. And every day that passes by, this is not looking good for Trump. But listen, I want Trump to succeed. I want him to win. Because if Trump is succeeding and he's winning, the United States of America is winning and succeeding. But if we're being honest, a lot of this stuff is messy. The whole immigration thing, the optics of it, even if you agree or not agree on the deportations, it was messy. The whole ICE situation was messy. From an optics perspective, it wasn't great. And what do people vote on? Their emotion in their pockets. This is why I'm saying, you can forget about the midterms. I don't care what happens from here until November. The Democrats it's going to be a blue wave. And God, I hope I'm wrong to a certain extent. But maybe that's what the Republican Party needs, is an ass whooping. Maybe that's what they need. But God pray for our country, because these are the two parties that are in complete control of our country. And us, the people, we, the people, really don't have much say in these decisions that are being made, other than being able to vote them into power. Is damn if you do, damn if you don't. So honestly, I just don't know. And the last thing I'm going to leave on Iran is, who are you truly dealing with in the leadership? So the Ayatollah's son, he's a new Ayatollah. They say he's practically not functional. You're dealing with the prime minister, okay, but from everything that I've been able to dig up, there's about 30 different fractions to the Iranian government, and the IRGC is in control right now. So who truly has a decision to be able to make a deal? Who is running the country? So, okay, so you do a deal with this group, but this other group doesn't agree to it, and they start sending missiles and bombs and continue the attacks. And who has true control over the Strait of Hormuz? Is it the RGC, which it seems like it is? So do we reach a ceasefire with whoever's in charge, but the IRGC doesn't open the strait back up because they don't feel like it? Man, there's a lot of unknowns with this, and it's very complicated and it's very messy. So we'll see where we go from here. Tomorrow, I'm sure something else will come out and we'll have another conversation. But today, where we stand, I don't feel like we truly have a deal. And that's just how I feel. So that's what I have on Iran ceasefire today. I want to talk about the Diddy appeal case. Diddy might get out today, which is crazy to me, that this guy got out or may get out. And you got to listen to why and how his defense attorneys, what they're appealing on to get him out. And here's TMZ on how his attorneys are approaching this. Roll the clip.
Good chance that Diddy could be eating dinner at his home tonight, a free man. And that's because an appeals court is now hearing the review of the trial in which Diddy was convicted of violating the Mann Act. And his defense lawyers are making two arguments that could sway these judges and make them overturn the conviction. Let me explain both. So the first is that the defense says that the violation of the Mann Act is to prohibit the transportation of prostitutes across state lines, and it's typically for commercial purposes. That's where they've used it before. In this case, the defense is saying this is nothing more than kinky porn. And kinky porn is protected by the First Amendment. Now, that may sound crazy, but I'm going to read you something from their brief. Listen to this. They say, freak-offs and hotel nights were highly choreographed sexual performances involving the use of costumes, role play, and staged lighting, which were filmed so Combs and his girlfriends could watch this amateur pornography later. Pornography production and viewing of this sort is protected by the First Amendment and thus cannot constitutionally be prosecuted. So what they're saying is, look, if you want to use the Mann Act to prosecute people who are moving prostitutes across state lines for commercial transactions, which again is what it's usually used for, that's one thing. But here, there's no commercial purpose. Diddy lost money. He ended up paying the prostitutes. The films were never distributed to anybody. The defense is saying it was for his pleasure and the pleasure of people who may have been participating. So they're saying, look, this is like any porn. It could be OnlyFans. It could be anything like that. And all of that is constitutionally protected and shouldn't be prosecuted. So that's one argument. And I got to say, it is an interesting argument. The prosecutors are saying it's meritless, but I wouldn't be so quick to judge it that way. So we don't know what the prosecution is going to say beyond that in court.
You can cut the clip.
But these judges,
So can you imagine if this truly happens where they let Diddy out? And I'm just going to give you some numbers that I dug up. It cost the federal government, and these are not exact numbers, but these are estimated numbers, $10 million to try Diddy. Okay, and Diddy, by the way, has a set date to get out of prison, April of 2028. That's right around the corner. All right? And this is a guy that was facing RICO charges and facing 30 years to life in prison. So I just wanted you to understand what these federal or the DOJ was trying to convict them on. But you have $10 million. Then you had about another $20 million, give or take, from the city of New York, just in security and everything, you know, all the hoopla around the case. Overtime to cops. You know, everything that it entailed to be able to try this case in the city of New York. Right? So the question I have for you guys is, if they let him out, was it worth the price of admission? $30 million, give or take, to get 2.5 years of jail from Diddy? And did you truly have a strong enough case? Or did you go after him because he was a high-profile name? And listen, I'm not excusing Diddy for what he did to that poor girl, Cassie. Not excusing it. And just alone on that, I think he should get 10 years, because I don't believe that you should hit a woman like that and not fear consequences or get consequences for it. But if we're just basically talking about the law and truly having a case, was this worth the price of admission? Or were people trying to make careers out of trying Diddy? Those are the questions. That's how the system works. And that's why the system, man, when you talk to people that have gone through the system, they'll tell you that it's corrupt, that the system is set up in a way that you'll never beat it. You don't have the money to go up against them. They create certain situations for their case. And on and on and on the things that they do. And that's just the product of the system. And I'm not saying the people doing it is bad. It's just the system they've come up in. This is how the system is ran. Career prosecutors trying to make a name for themselves, and they want to take on a case like this because of the name and the notoriety. And I'm not saying that Diddy's not a good human being. I hope that he comes out and can be a contributor now and do some good things, I hope. But a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. And if they are able to get him out on what Harvey Levin is talking about here on TMZ, crazy that we even went through this process. Crazy. And a friend of mine used to tell me this all the time: you're proven innocent until you're proven broke. So if you have the money to fight the legal system, you'll be okay. And Diddy obviously has the money to be able to fight and go to appeals and do certain things. He's got very, very good attorneys. And they might pull this off. Diddy might be in Miami tonight if they pull this off, eating at home, like Harvey said. It's within the realm of possibility. I wouldn't be surprised, not one bit. But was it worth the price of admission? That's the question. It's a lot of money to just get 2.5 years out of somebody. A lot of money that didn't kill anybody. You know, didn't commit fraud. Sure, he was doing some things that are not morally right with me. Touching a woman is never right, and you should face a severe consequence for that. But based on our law, and he never got charged with that. She never pressed charges. That's, you know, and there's probably reasons why that didn't happen. I know that he did pay her $23 million in a settlement. But was this worth the price of admission? That's the question I have for you guys. Like, seems like a lot of money to get 2.5 years. So we love your feedback. We love your comments over this case. It's incredible that this is even a possibility today. So that concludes today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Just a lot of unanswered questions, I think, with this whole Iran-U.S. situation. I don't understand it. And there's a lot of mixed messaging from this Trump administration. I hope they find an off-ramp quick and we can get a solution to this so we can move on with our lives and deal with the issues that we truly have going on here in the United States. But to me, personally, it doesn't seem that way. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment. We love the feedback. Catch you guys on the next one.